My parents gave my twin sister a luxury vacation, not me, but I got a gift from someone special that will shock them when they return. My name's Natalie, 18, female, and I'm a twin. My sister Mia and I are only a few minutes apart, but honestly, it feels like we're living in different worlds. Everyone assumes twins are equals, two halves of the same coin. Not in my case with my family. Mia is the star, and I'm just the extra. Let me lay some background. Growing up in our house wasn't bad if you didn't mind playing second fiddle. Our parents, Linda and Robert Hayes, are classic suburban parents. Mom's a real estate agent who looks like she lives for open houses and client lunches. Dad's an accountant who runs his own little firm. Together, they're all about appearances, nice house, perfect lawn, good schools. It's all about keeping up the image, but the image only really worked if Mia was front and center. I started noticing the difference in treatment when we were little. It wasn't obvious at first, more like a pattern that only became clear over time. Mia always got the shiny new things, while I got the leftovers. Like when we went shopping for school supplies, Mia would get the cool Lisa Frank folders and gel pens, and I'd end up with the generic stuff from the bargain bin. The holidays made it even clearer. Mia got the toys everyone wanted. I remember one Christmas when she got this huge Barbie dream house, and I got some off-brand doll that looked like it came from a garage sale. I didn't say anything, and my parents thought I was okay with that. Even on our birthdays, Mia's gifts were flashier, and the decorations always felt like they were picked just for her. At first, I tried not to let it bother me. I thought, it's just stuff, right? But it wasn't just about the material things. It was how they treated her versus how they treated me. Mom would light up when Mia walked into a room, asking about her day, her friends, her school projects. When I tried to chime in, their attention would drift, like they couldn't wait for me to finish talking. It wasn't all bad, though. School was my escape. While Mia was busy being the center of attention at home, I buried myself in my studies. I was a good student, no, a great one. I aced my tests, finished assignments early, and always got glowing comments from my teachers. At first, I thought my parents might notice and maybe, just maybe, be proud of me. But they didn't. The only time they seemed to pay attention was when my success made Mia uncomfortable. She hated it when teachers called me the smart one or when I got awards at school. I remember one time in middle school when I got a certificate for academic excellence. I was so excited, but Mia couldn't stand it. It's not that big a deal, she said. They give those to everyone. Her jealousy got worse in high school. I was taking honors classes and earning top grades. I'm kind of a nerd, I won't lie. Meanwhile, Mia was more about popularity and sports. Not to say she wasn't smart, she could do well when she tried, but she didn't put in the effort, and yet, our parents still acted like she walked on water. One thing that really drove me crazy was how much money they spent on her. Mia got everything she wanted, designer clothes, extracurricular activities, and endless support. When she wanted to try ballet, they paid for lessons, costumes, and recitals. When I asked if I could take art classes, I got a flat, "We can't afford that." Somehow, the budget always stretched for Mia's interests but never for mine. Even when it came to chores, things were uneven. Mia hardly lifted a finger. If she did one small thing, Mom would shower her with praise. Meanwhile, I'd clean the entire kitchen and barely get a thanks. It wasn't just unfair, it was exhausting. I was feeling invisible. There were times I wondered if I could do something amazing, win a science fair, get a scholarship, solve world hunger, and they'd still only see Mia. That feeling of being unseen started to weigh on me, but I didn't know how to handle it. When I was 12, I overheard something that cemented it for me. I couldn't sleep and went downstairs for a drink of water. My parents were talking in the living room, their voices low but clear enough for me to catch. "Sometimes I think it would have been easier if we didn't have twins," Dad said. "Mia would have been enough." My heart dropped. I stood there, my tears running down my face. Mom didn't even argue. Instead, she sighed and said, "Mia's special. She's going to do great things. Natalie, well, she's fine." I felt something inside me shift. That's when I realized there was no point in trying to win their approval. I'd never be Mia, and to them, that meant I'd never be enough. From that day on, I decided to focus on myself. I stopped caring about their validation and poured all my energy into school. If they didn't want to see me, fine. I'd make sure the rest of the world did. High school was a game changer. I took every advanced class I could and joined academic clubs. My teachers noticed my dedication and encouraged me. I got awards, scholarships, and recognition that I knew my parents would never give me. Funny thing is, the more I succeeded, the more it bothered Mia. She couldn't stand it when teachers praised me or when I got asked to tutor other students. She'd roll her eyes and mutter teacher's pet under her breath. Sometimes she'd even tell our parents I was showing off. But I didn't care. I wasn't trying to impress anyone, I was doing it for me. By the time college admissions rolled around, I knew I had a shot at getting into a top school. I worked hard on my applications, stayed up late writing essays, and made sure every detail was perfect. I wasn't just dreaming of leaving, I was preparing for it. Meanwhile, Mia barely tried. She applied to a state school that didn't require much effort and spent most of her time hanging out with friends. Our parents didn't seem to mind. Mia's got other talents, Mom said once, as if that excused her laziness. As I waited for my acceptance letters, I couldn't help but feel a little hopeful. Maybe, just maybe, getting into a great college would finally make my parents see me. But deep down, I wasn't holding my breath. So, acceptance season finally rolled around, and I got the email I'd been waiting for, Columbia University, full acceptance. My heart was racing when I saw the letter. After all the late nights, essays, and the ridiculous mountain of applications, it finally felt like my hard work had paid off. I printed the letter and brought it home, thinking maybe this will be it. Maybe this will be the thing that makes them see me. I know it's dumb, but a small part of me really thought my parents might finally look at me with some actual pride instead of the usual indifference. When I got home, though, I could already tell something was off. Mia was lounging on the couch, scrolling through her phone. Mom and Dad were at the dining table, their heads close together, surrounded by brochures. They didn't even look up when I came in. "Hey, I have some news," I said, holding up the acceptance letter. "Not now, Natalie," Mom said, waving me off without even glancing in my direction. "We're busy." That stung. "Busy with what?" I asked. "Hawaii," Mia said, smirking as she dragged the word out like it was some inside joke I wasn't in on. "Hawaii?" I repeated. My first thought was, wait, are we going on a family vacation? I started feeling a little excited. "What's going on?" Mom didn't even look up from the table. "Just something special," she said, sounding way too casual. I stood there hoping for more, like hello, a little context please? But nope, nothing. Finally, Mia rolled her eyes. "Mom and Dad are planning a trip. You don't need to worry about it, okay?" That threw me off. Why wouldn't I need to worry about it? It's a family trip, right? Of course I'm included, right? I tried not to let it get to me. I told myself, you're overthinking it. It's probably just a surprise for everyone. But later that night, as I was heading to bed, I heard them talking again in the kitchen. "It's going to be perfect," Mom was saying, her voice full of excitement. "Mia deserves something special before college. She's worked so hard." Worked hard? Mia barely did the bare minimum to get into state college, but okay, sure. Dad agreed. "Just the three of us. It'll be a nice family getaway." Just the three of us? And there it was. They weren't planning a family trip, they were planning their trip, a celebration for Mia, and I wasn't even part of the equation. I looked at the acceptance letter sitting on my desk. The excitement I'd felt earlier was gone. Instead, I felt this dull, empty ache. I wanted to confront them, but what was the point? I already knew what they'd say. The next day, I tried to piece together more details. I overheard snippets of conversations, caught Mia talking to her friends about beaches and resorts, and saw a confirmation email on Mom's open laptop. A week in Hawaii at some 5-star hotel, flights already booked. They didn't even bother hiding it from me, not even giving any excuse. Just business as usual, like I wasn't even there. I kept my head down and went about my day, but inside I was fuming. It wasn't just about the trip, it was about what it represented. No matter what I did, no matter how hard I worked, I'd always be second place. Mia, of course, couldn't resist rubbing it in every chance she got. She'd drop little hints. "Mom says I'm going to love snorkeling," she'd say, looking right at me, or "I can't wait to see the sunsets there. They're supposed to be incredible." I ignored her. If she wanted a reaction, she wasn't going to get it from me. A few days before the trip, I decided to see my school counselor for advice. I told her about my acceptance to Columbia and how my parents were ignoring it while celebrating Mia's Hawaii trip. She listened and told me I should be proud of my achievements. I thought that was the end of it, but you know that you cannot trust school counselors at all. I don't know why I even told her, I guess I was desperate. The next day, Mom came home furious. "Natalie, what lies did you tell your counselor?" She snapped. "What are you talking about?" I asked, confused. "She called me. She said you're making it sound like we don't care about you or support you. Do you have any idea how embarrassing that is?" "I didn't lie," I said quietly. "I told her the truth, that you're ignoring me and celebrating Mia." Her face turned red. "Ungrateful, That's what you are. We've given you everything, and now you're trying to make us look bad. You've always been jealous of Mia. She stormed out, leaving me standing there. No matter what I did, I'd always be the problem. And this incident didn't even get my mom thinking maybe she's making a mistake or maybe I am hurt. She didn't give a damn. The morning of their trip came faster than I expected. I was in the kitchen making breakfast when I heard them loading their suitcases into the car. Mia walked in, looking like she was already in vacation mode. "Don't worry, sis," she said. "I'll send you pictures, so you can live vicariously through me." My mom told me to take care of the house before she got in the car. My dad gave me a quick goodbye wave. As the car pulled out of the driveway, I watched from the window. For a split second, I felt a pang of sadness, not because I wanted to go to Hawaii, but because it was another reminder of where I stood in their eyes. And yeah, that's it. My family is off to Hawaii celebrating a milestone of my twin like she was the only one in the family with accomplishments. Meanwhile, I am here, left to take care of the house like some live-in maid. Part of me wants to be furious, to scream and yell and break something, but mostly I just feel stuck. I don't want to feel like this anymore. I don't want to keep swallowing their treatment like it's normal or something I just have to accept. But I don't know what to do. Right now, I'm stuck between wanting to prove my worth to them and realizing I shouldn't have to. I shouldn't need to beg for basic respect or acknowledgement. But how do you let go of something you've been chasing your whole life? I'm open to any advice or suggestions because honestly, I feel lost. If you've got any ideas, I'm all ears. After everything that's happened, I'm sitting here realizing I've spent way too much of my life waiting for things to change, waiting for my parents to notice me, waiting for Mia to stop being the center of their universe, waiting for someone to say, "Hey Natalie, you matter too." But you know what? I'm done waiting. Once they were gone, the house was eerily quiet. I sat on the couch trying to figure out what to do next. That's when I remembered something I hadn't thought about in years. I don't even know how it came into my mind. When I was younger, I overheard Mom having this heated argument on the phone. She was talking to her brother, Uncle Jack. She said he was a bad influence and an embarrassment, and she basically told him to stay out of her life. At the time, I didn't think much of it. I barely knew anything about him except that he lived nearby and wasn't part of our family's picture-perfect bubble. But sitting there in that empty house, it hit me, maybe Jack was exactly the person I needed to talk to, someone who'd been pushed out of their lives for not fitting into their mold, someone who might actually understand what it feels like to be on the outside looking in. Grabbing my laptop, I did a quick search and found his address. It wasn't far, just a few miles away. Before I could talk myself out of it, I grabbed my keys and headed out the door. I honestly needed to go somewhere anyway. I didn't know what I was expecting when I got there. His house was small and modest, with a front yard full of overgrown plants. I hesitated for a moment, then knocked on the door. When he answered, I froze. He looked older than I'd imagined, with gray streaks in his hair and a worn flannel shirt. For a second, I thought I'd made a mistake. "Can I help you?" he asked, his brow furrowing. Hi, I said awkwardly. "I'm Natalie, Linda's daughter." His eyes widened. "Linda's daughter?" He stared at me for a moment, then smiled. "Well, I'll be damned. Come on in." The inside of his house was cluttered but cozy. He led me to the kitchen, where he poured us both cups of coffee. "So," he said, leaning back in his chair, "what brings you here?" I hesitated, unsure how much to say. "It's complicated. Let's just say things aren't great at home." "Linda always was a piece of work," Jack said with a dry laugh, shaking his head. "I'm not surprised things turned out this way. She's been like that for as long as I can remember." I was confused and curious. "What do you mean?" His expression shifted slightly, something between frustration and sadness. "Let's just say your mom's got her priorities, and they don't always include doing the right thing." He glanced at me, almost like he wanted to say more but stopped himself. "Just keep in mind, Natalie, you're not the first person in this family to get pushed aside for speaking the truth." So there I was, sitting in Uncle Jack's kitchen, sipping coffee and spilling parts of my life story to someone I barely knew. I didn't mean to unload so much, but once I started talking, it all just came pouring out. I told him about Colombia, about how hard I'd worked to get in, and about how my parents barely seemed to notice. I wasn't planning on mentioning the Hawaii thing, but it slipped out. "They're on a trip right now," I said. "A family trip, except, I wasn't invited." His eyebrows raised. "Let me guess, Mia's there?" "Of course," I said, laughing bitterly. "They're treating it like some big celebration for her." He shook his head, muttering something under his breath. "Classic Linda. She's always had a way of picking favorites." After a while, Jack changed the subject, asking me about my plans for college. He seemed genuinely interested, which was kind of a shock. I wasn't used to people caring about what I had to say. We talked for hours, and by the time I left, I felt lighter somehow, like I'd finally let go of something I didn't even realize I was holding on to. A couple of days later, Jack called me. "Hey Natalie, you free this afternoon?" "Yeah, why?" "I've got something to show you. Come by the house when you can." I wasn't sure what he meant, but I didn't have much else going on, so I hopped in my car and drove over. When I got there, Jack was waiting outside, leaning against an old pickup truck. "Come on," he said, motioning for me to follow him around the side of the house. We walked to the driveway, and there it was, a brand new BMW 3 Series, shiny and sleek, like it just rolled off the lot. I froze mid-step, my brain short-circuiting for a second. "Wait, what?" He smiled, holding up a set of keys. "It's yours." I stared at him like he'd lost his mind. "What?" "Number 1, I can't." "Sure you can," he said, cutting me off. "You earned it." He handed me the keys, and I took them reluctantly, still trying to process what was happening. "Jack, I don't even know what to say." "Say you'll drive it to Columbia and make me proud," he said, clapping me on the shoulder. I couldn't help but laugh. "Seriously though, why are you doing this?" Jack's expression softened. "Because you deserve it, and because someone needs to show you that you're worth celebrating." I tried to fight back tears. Nobody had ever done something like this for me. It wasn't just about the car, it was about what it represented. For the first time, someone had seen me, really seen me, and decided I was worth something. I drove home in my new car, still half convinced I was dreaming. When I pulled into the driveway, I parked next to my parents' empty spot, knowing they wouldn't be back for a few more days. It felt weird, almost like I was stepping into a version of my life that didn't belong to me. Over the next couple of days, I couldn't stop staring at the car. It was like this constant reminder that maybe, just maybe, I wasn't as invisible as I thought. I started to feel a tiny spark of something I hadn't felt in years, hope. But of course, it didn't take long for reality to come crashing back. The morning my parents and Mia came back from Hawaii, I was sitting in the living room pretending to read a book. I'd parked the car in the driveway on purpose, wanting to see how they'd react. When they pulled in, I watched through the window as Mom spotted it first. She froze, her hand halfway to the car door. Dad noticed it a second later, and then Mia. They all stood there staring at the car like it had just landed from another planet. "What the hell is this?" Mom said, her voice carrying through the open window. I waited a beat before getting up and heading outside. "Oh hey," I said casually. "You're back." Mom pointed at the car, her face red. "Who is that?" "Mine," I said, twirling the keys around my finger. Mia let out a short, disbelieving laugh. "Yeah right, like you could afford that." "Uncle Jack gave it to me," I said, enjoying the way their faces changed as the words sunk in. "Jack?" Mom said, her voice sharp. "You went to Jack? Why not?" I shot back. It's not like I had anyone else to turn to. For a second, nobody said anything. Then Mom's face twisted. "Well, you need to give it to Mia," she said finally. I blinked. "What?" "She needs a car for college," Mom said, as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. "And you don't need something that fancy. You're just going to school." "Mia's going too." "Oh hell no," I said, cutting her off. Mom's jaw tightened. "Excuse me?" I said no. "Can you hear me?" I repeated. "This is my car, and I'm not giving it to anyone." Mia stepped forward, her hand outstretched. "Come on, Nat, don't be selfish. You know I'll look better driving it anyway." I laughed, shaking my head. "Unbelievable. You guys just got back from a week in Hawaii that I wasn't invited to, and now you want my car? Not happening." Dad's face turned red. "If you don't hand over those keys, you can find somewhere else to live." "Funny you should say that," I said, walking to the car. I opened the trunk, revealing my packed suitcases and boxes. I was planning on leaving anyway. The look on their faces was priceless. Mom's mouth opened and closed like she wanted to say something but couldn't find the words. Mia just stared, her arms crossed, her expression a mix of anger and disbelief. I got into the car, started the engine, and rolled down the window. "Don't worry," I said. "I'll send you pictures, you know, so you can live vicariously through me." Then I drove off, leaving them standing there in the driveway. Driving away from my parents' house felt like ripping off a bandage. It stung, but at the same time, there was this weird sense of relief. For years, I'd been stuck in their shadow, always trying to be enough, and for once, I was leaving it all behind on my terms. I drove straight to Uncle Jack's place. When I pulled up, he was sitting on the porch. He grinned when he saw me. Figured you'd be back sooner or later, he said, standing up to help me with my bags. I told him everything that had happened, from the car confrontation to Dad's ultimatum. Jack listened without interrupting, his face unreadable. When I finished, he shook his head and said, "Sounds like you made the right call." He set me up in his spare room, which wasn't much, but it was cozy. Over the next few days, I started settling into this new version of my life. I still had some savings from a part-time job I'd worked during high school, so I wasn't completely broke, and Jack offered to help out with anything I needed. Meanwhile, I made a point to block my parents and Mia on my phone and social media. I wasn't about to let them drag me back into their drama, but of course, that didn't stop them from trying. A few days later, I was in the kitchen helping Jack with dinner when my phone buzzed with an unknown number. I answered, and before I could even say hello, Mom's voice came through the line. "Natalie, where are you?" she demanded. I regretted picking up. "I'm fine, Mom. Don't worry about me." "Don't worry? You just left," she snapped. "Do you have any idea how selfish that was? Your father and I have been worried sick." "Worried?" I said with sarcasm. "You didn't seem too worried when you were in Hawaii." "That's not the point," she said quickly. "You can't just run off and expect us to what?" I interrupted. "To care? Let's not pretend this is about me, Mom. You just don't like that I'm not playing along anymore." She stayed silent for a while, then sighed. "You're being dramatic. Come home, and we can talk about this like adults." "No, thanks," I said. "I'm good where I am." Before she could argue, I hung up and blocked the number. After that, things were quiet for a while. I spent my days getting ready for college, organizing my paperwork, buying supplies, and figuring out logistics. Jack was a huge help, driving me around to pick up things I needed and giving me advice about living on my own. But the calm didn't last long. One afternoon, about a week after I'd moved in, Jack and I were sitting on the porch when a car pulled up in front of the house. I thought it was one of his neighbors, but then I saw who got out, Mom and Mia. "Oh, this should be good," Jack muttered, crossing his arms. Mom marched up the walkway like she was on a mission. Mia followed behind her, looking less confident but still wearing that smug expression she always got when she thought she was about to win. "Natalie," Mom said as she reached the porch. "Come over here. We need to talk." Ignoring Jack, I stood up, trying to keep my voice steady. "There's nothing to talk about." There's plenty to talk about," she said, her tone sharp. "This behavior is unacceptable. You can't just run off and ignore your family." "I'm not ignoring you," I said. "I'm setting boundaries." "Boundaries?" Mia scoffed. "What are you, a therapist now?" Jack chuckled, clearly enjoying the show. Mom shot him a glare before turning back to me. "Natalie, enough of this nonsense. You need to come home and return that car right now. It's not fair to Mia." There it was, the real reason they were here. "This isn't about me coming home," I said. "You just want the car." "That car was a mistake," Mom said, her voice rising. "Jack had no right to give it to you." Jack finally stood up, stepping between us. "Actually, I had every right," he said calmly. "It's my money, and I'll spend it however I damn well please." Mia rolled her eyes. "It's ridiculous. You don't even need a car like that, Natalie. You're not going anywhere important," I laughed. "You mean like Columbia University? That's where I'm going." The color drained from Mia's face. Mom was shocked. "Columbia?" "Yeah," I said, holding her gaze. "I got in, full acceptance. But I'm guessing you didn't notice since you were too busy planning your trip." For a moment, nobody said anything. Then Mia muttered, "Whatever, state's better anyway." "Sure it is," I said, smirking. My mom didn't back down. "Natalie, I'm serious. If you don't come home and return that car, you're going to regret it." "No, I won't," I said firmly. "I'm done with the guilt trips, done being the invisible one, done with all of it. You've made it clear where I stand, and I'm not playing along anymore." Jack put a hand on my shoulder. "I think it's time for you two to leave," he said, his voice calm but firm. Mom opened her mouth to argue, but Jack cut her off. "Now." Mia looked like she wanted to say something, but Mom grabbed her arm and pulled her toward the car. As they drove away, I felt this weird mix of emotions, but mostly I felt free. Jack looked at me and said, "There's a reason your mom acts the way she does, but some things are better left in the past." I didn't comment on that. I knew he would tell me in the right time. And yeah, this is how things turned out. Do you think I overreacted to their trip? I guess I had the right to stand up for myself after all these years, but also I'm damn sure my mom won't let this slide, especially with Jack in the picture. I'll keep you guys updated if something pops up. Stay tuned. After Mom and Mia stormed out of Jack's house that day, something shifted. It was like I could finally breathe. I wasn't bracing for their next argument or trying to prove anything to them anymore. They didn't get what they wanted, and I was done trying to please them. The next few weeks flew by as I got ready to move to Colombia. Jack was amazing, helping me navigate everything, between buying supplies, sorting through old stuff, and figuring out how to fit my life into a few boxes. It was chaos, but in the best way. One day, Jack announced we were going to a furniture store. "You need a good desk," he said, dragging me along. "I don't need anything fancy," I protested. "Nonsense. You're going to an Ivy League school. You need a desk that says I'm smarter than you." I couldn't stop laughing. Jack has this way of turning even the simplest things into an adventure. We spent an hour debating desk styles until I gave in and chose one he liked. "See?" he said with a grin. "You've got taste after all." With every little step, setting up my new laptop, choosing bedding, planning my schedule, it felt like I was leaving the past behind for good. I stayed distant from my parents and Mia. They didn't call, and I didn't miss the drama. Jack, on the other hand, couldn't resist poking the bear. "You know," he said one night over dinner, "your mom called me." I froze. What did she want? She was fishing for details, how much I spent on the car, what your plans were, all that nonsense. And I told her to mind her own business and hung up. I couldn't stop laughing. "You're the best," he said. "You know, Natalie, this is the best thing that's ever happened to you, getting out of that house. You're finally free to figure out who you are without their nonsense holding you down." And he was right. Moving day came faster than I expected. Jack and I packed up the car with everything I owned, which wasn't much. As we pulled out of the driveway, I felt this weird mix of excitement and nerves. Columbia's campus was everything I'd imagined: massive stone buildings, sprawling greens, and this electric energy. Jack helped me carry my stuff to my dorm, cracking jokes about how fancy it was compared to his old college apartment. For the first few weeks, everything felt like a dream. But of course, my mom and Mia weren't going to let me go that easily. The first sign of trouble came one afternoon when I was heading back to my dorm. I noticed Mia had tagged me in a post on social media. Against my better judgment, I opened it. It was a picture of my old room back home, completely empty, with the caption, "Out with the old, in with the new." Some people can't handle the truth. Actually, the post stung more than I wanted to admit. Mia wasn't just trying to get under my skin, she was painting me as the villain to anyone who'd listen. A few of our mutual friends from high school commented things like, "OMG, what happened?" and "Sounds like Natalie's being dramatic again." It didn't stop there. Over the next few days, I started getting texts from people I hadn't talked to in months, asking why I was causing drama with my family. Mia had clearly been spreading her version of the story, and I was the bad guy in all of it. Then, just as I was starting to move past it, Mom showed up. It was a Friday afternoon, and I was in the library working on an assignment when my phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "Come outside. We need to talk." I didn't need to guess who it was. Sure enough, when I stepped outside, there she was, Linda in all her overbearing glory, standing by her car with a look that could curdle milk. "Mom," I said, crossing my arms. "What are you doing here?" "Don't use that tone with me," she snapped. "We need to talk about this ridiculous stunt you've pulled." "What stunt?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "Running away from home, turning your back on your family, dragging Jack into your nonsense." "Jack didn't drag me into anything," I cut her off. "He actually supports me, which is more than I can say for you." She took a step closer, lowering her voice like she didn't want anyone to overhear. "Natalie, this has gone on long enough. You need to come home and fix this. People are talking." "Good," I said, shrugging. "Let them talk. Maybe they'll finally see what's really going on." Her face twisted in anger, but before she could say anything else, I added, "By the way, Mia's little smear campaign? It's not working. I don't care what she tells people, and neither should you." Mom's eyes narrowed. "You've changed, Natalie, and not for the better." "No, Mom," I said, standing my ground. "I've just stopped pretending to be okay with your games." She stood there for a moment, clearly searching for something to say, but when nothing came, she got in her car and drove off without another word. After 2 days, Jack called me with some unexpected news. "Your mom showed up at my house," he said, clearly amused. "Why?" "She wanted to talk about the will," he said, laughing. "I think she's worried I'm leaving everything to you." Typical Linda, always thinking about what's in it for her. "What did you tell her?" I asked. "I told her not to worry about it. But honestly, Natalie, her showing up here isn't about the money. It's about control. She's afraid of what I might tell you." Your mom has spent her whole life hiding things, and she knows I don't play by her rules. My stomach churned. Hiding what? Jack hesitated for a moment, then said, let's not open that can of worms right now. Focus on school, Natalie. You've got bigger things to worry about. His words hung in the air. I didn't push him, but I couldn't stop wondering what he wasn't telling me. Anyways, I am settling into my new life. My classes are amazing, my dorm feels like home, and for the first time, I'm not living in Mia's shadow or trying to earn my parents' approval. It's just me, myself, and I, and for the first time, this is enough.